The crimson dust of Mars swirled around the fragile outpost, a testament to humanity's audacious reach for the stars. Dr. Aris Thorne, his face etched with the weariness of 1,000 Martian sunsets, watched the storm from the panoramic window of Habitat 7. His breath fogged the reinforced glass, a stark reminder of the thin membrane separating life from the desolate vacuum outside. This was not a dream of discovery. It was a desperate gamble, a last-ditch effort to plant the seeds of a new civilization amidst the rust-colored plains. Aris remembered the hopeful faces of the initial crew, their eyes bright with the promise of a new dawn. Now, only a handful remained, their hopes slowly eroding with each failed atmospheric processor, each dwindling supply shipment from a struggling Earth. The silence in the habitat was deafening, broken only by the hum of the life support systems, a constant, fragile heartbeat in the alien landscape. He turned from the window, his gaze falling upon a faded photograph of his daughter, her smile a beacon from a world he might never see again. The weight of their survival rested heavily on his shoulders, a burden that often felt heavier than the Martian gravity itself. The hum of the life support was the only heartbeat Aris could trust until the terminal in the corner chirped, a sound it hadn't made in months. It wasn't a scheduled check-in from the orbital relay, nor was it the distorted static of the dying Earth. It was a rhythmic, mathematical pulse originating from the Borealis Basin, a region of Mars supposed to be as dead as the old gods it was named after. Aris leaned over the console, his fingers dancing across the haptic interface. The data didn't make sense. It wasn't a distress call. It was a map, a blueprint for an atmospheric conversion process far beyond humanity's current reach. As the log scrolled, a chill that had nothing to do with the Martian climate crept up his spine. The signal wasn't coming from a hidden human bunker. It was rising from beneath the permafrost, vibrating through the very bedrock of the planet. He looked back at the storm outside. For the first time, the red dust didn't look like a shroud. It looked like a veil. "Is someone there?" he whispered to the empty room. The terminal blinked once, a steady green light that felt like an invitation or a trap. Aris knew he had to investigate. The signal, too intricate, too deliberate to be a natural phenomenon, pulsed with an undeniable intelligence. He gathered his minimal team. Elara Vance, the stoic xenobotanist whose life's work was finding a single Martian microbe, and Jax, the rugged geologist whose gruff exterior hid a sharp mind for subterranean anomalies. Their faces, usually grim, now held a spark of something new, a flicker of curiosity, perhaps even fear. "Borealis Basin," Aris stated, pointing at the holographic map projected onto the habitat's central table. "The signal emanates from here, deep below the surface." Elara adjusted her spectacles, her brow furrowed. "But nothing's ever been detected there. It's geologically inert, save for some ancient lava tubes." Jax grunted, examining the readings. "These aren't natural, Aris. Not even close. This is structured, like a language we don't speak yet." The decision was swift, born of desperation and an unyielding scientific drive. They would take the last operational rover, the Pathfinder, and embark on a journey into the unknown. As they prepared, the thought of his daughter's smile, a memory from a world slowly fading, fueled Aris. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about understanding, about answering a question whispered across the void. What awaited them beneath the silent, red plains of Mars could either be humanity's salvation or its final, chilling end. The Pathfinder crawled across the desolate Martian landscape, a tiny metallic beetle against the vast, indifferent canvas of the red planet. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation and the faint, recycled scent of ozone. Aris piloted with a grim determination. Elara meticulously monitored the atmospheric sensors for any deviation, and Jax, ever the pragmatist, kept an eye on the power reserves, muttering about the foolishness of venturing into the unknown on a wing and a prayer. As they neared the Borealis Basin, the signal intensified, no longer a subtle pulse but a vibrant, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through the very structure of the rover. The geological scans began to show anomalies, impossibly smooth surfaces buried deep beneath the rough Martian soil. It was not natural rock. It was something else, something manufactured. Finally, a massive, hexagonal structure appeared on their long-range radar, perfectly symmetrical, hidden beneath a kilometer of regolith. It was too vast to be anything human, too precise to be naturally formed. "We found it," Elara breathed, her voice barely a whisper, echoing the profound awe that filled the small cabin. Jax simply stared, his usual cynicism momentarily silenced by the sheer impossibility of what lay beneath them. Aris felt a surge of adrenaline, cold and sharp. This was it, the moment of truth. What sleeping giant had they awakened? With the colossal structure confirmed beneath the surface, the team quickly deployed the Pathfinder's automated drilling unit. The Martian soil, usually stubborn, gave way with surprising ease, as if the ground itself was welcoming their intrusion. Dust plumes billowed around the rover, temporarily obscuring their view, but the drilling continued relentlessly, guided by the insistent hum of the alien signal. Minutes stretched into hours, and the drill bit descended deeper than anything they had attempted before. Finally, the drill broke through, not into solid rock, but into empty space. A chamber, vast and dark, opened beneath them. The signal, now overwhelming, pulsed from within. Through the Pathfinder's external cameras, they saw not rough-hewn cavern walls, but polished, obsidian-like surfaces, reflecting the drilling lights like an impossible starry night. Intricate, geometric patterns, glowing with a soft, internal luminescence, began to appear on the walls, moving and shifting like a liquid mosaic. Aris felt a primal fear, yet it was overshadowed by an insatiable hunger for knowledge. This wasn't just a discovery, it was an invitation. "Prepare the descent module," he commanded, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "We're going in." Elara and Jax exchanged a silent glance, a mix of apprehension and exhilaration in their eyes. The unknown beckoned, and they, the last remnants of a dying Earth, were ready to answer its call. The descent module, a cramped spherical chamber designed for geological surveys, slowly lowered them into the gaping maw of the newly opened chasm. The air, surprisingly temperate, carried a faint, metallic scent, not unpleasant, but utterly alien. As they dropped deeper, the light from their headlamp struggled against the pervasive darkness, revealing glimpses of walls that shimmered like polished obsidian, etched with the glowing, liquid-like patterns seen on the rover's external feed. These patterns pulsed in rhythm with the signal that now enveloped them, a silent symphony of light and information. Aris peered through the viewport, his breath misting the glass. "It's vast," he murmured, the words swallowed by the silence of the chamber. Elara, usually so meticulous, simply stared, her scientific detachment giving way to sheer wonder. Jax, however, was already taking readings, his instruments alive with data. "The structural integrity of this place is impossible," he reported, his voice tinged with grudging admiration. "It defies known physics. And the air, it's breathable, barely. But how?" Suddenly, the descent module touched down gently on a perfectly smooth, black platform. As the hatch hissed open, a wave of light emanated from the chamber walls, illuminating a cavern of unimaginable scale. At its center stood a colossal, multifaceted crystal, humming with an internal light that cast shifting, iridescent colors across the dark space. It was not merely beautiful, it felt ancient, powerful, and utterly beyond human comprehension. The signal, they realized, wasn't just from this place, it was this place, a living, breathing entity carved from the heart of Mars itself. As Aris, Elara, and Jax stepped out of the descent module onto the smooth, dark platform, the chamber around them seemed to come alive. The glowing geometric patterns on the obsidian walls intensified, rippling and flowing like currents of pure energy. The colossal crystal at the cavern's heart pulsed brighter, casting shifting rainbows of light that danced across the faces of the stunned crew. A soft, resonant hum filled the air, a sound that wasn't heard by their ears, but felt deep within their bones, a symphony of alien intelligence. Elara, recovering her scientific composure, cautiously approached the nearest wall, reaching out a gloved hand. As her fingertips neared the glowing patterns, they swirled and coalesced, forming intricate three-dimensional projections in the air before her. Images flashed, celestial bodies, galactic nebulae, the birth and death of stars, all rendered with impossible clarity and detail. It was a visual language, a cosmic Rosetta Stone unfolding before their very eyes. It's a history, Elara breathed, awe coloring her voice. Not just of Mars, but of the universe. It's showing us everything. Aris watched, mesmerized, as the images transitioned to depictions of lush, verdant worlds, then to the rise and fall of civilizations. Jax, his eyes wide, pointed towards a segment that showed the Martian landscape evolving, not millions of years ago, but in the near future, a future where the red planet bloomed with life, its skies a vibrant blue. It wasn't just history. It was a potential future, an instruction manual for terraforming, offered by an unseen, ancient benefactor. The implications of the alien knowledge pulsed through Aris, a potent elixir of hope and terror. This colossal crystal wasn't merely a data archive. It was a living library, an active conduit. The blueprints for atmospheric conversion, for generating a magnetosphere, for enriching the soil, all the impossible dreams of humanity for Mars, were laid bare before them, rendered in a language of light and thought. It was a gift, a final chance for a species that had nearly exhausted its own world. As they absorbed the torrent of information, the crystal pulsed with a new intensity, and a single, smaller shard of crystalline light detached itself from the main body, drifting gently towards Aris. It hovered before him, warm and inviting. A voice, not heard but felt directly in his mind, echoed through his consciousness. Restore. Rebuild. Remember. It was not a command, but an offering, a compassionate plea from an ancient intelligence that had watched countless civilizations rise and fall. Aris reached out, his hand trembling slightly, and grasped the crystalline shard. As his fingers closed around it, a surge of energy, pure and profound, coursed through him. He saw not only the intricate steps for terraforming Mars, but also a vision of Earth, healed and vibrant, teeming with life. He saw his daughter, older, standing on a green Mars, looking up at a blue sky. The weight of the world, which had pressed down on him for so long, lifted, replaced by an overwhelming sense of purpose. This wasn't just survival, it was resurrection. They had come to Mars seeking refuge, and instead, they had found the seed of a new beginning, not just for themselves, but for all of humanity. Armed with a crystalline shard, a living repository of alien knowledge, Aris and his team returned to Habitat 7. The despondency that had clung to the outpost like Martian dust was replaced by a feverish, directed energy. The ancient signal, now understood through the shard, allowed them to activate dormant protocols within their own outdated equipment, revealing capabilities they never knew existed. They began with the atmospheric processors, recalibrating them with algorithms downloaded directly from the alien crystal. The dull hum of machinery now resonated with a new, powerful thrum, pushing out breathable air with an efficiency that bordered on miraculous. Elara, with newfound vigor, used the shard's information to identify and synthesize complex microbial strains that could break down the Martian regolith, preparing it for future flora. Jax, meanwhile, was obsessed with the energy schematics, guiding the construction of a vast, orbital solar array that would tap into the planet's magnetic field and begin the slow, deliberate process of warming the Martian core. They worked tirelessly, driven by the visions Aris had shared, of blue skies and flowing rivers. The transformation was slow, almost imperceptible at first, but undeniably underway. The red dust storms still raged, but beneath them, a silent miracle was unfolding. The despair that had nearly consumed them was replaced by an almost religious fervor, a shared conviction that they were not just surviving, but actively creating a future. The colonists, once isolated by their individual fears, now moved as one, bound by the audacious dream gifted to them by a benevolent alien presence. The Martian soil was still red, but in their hearts, the first whispers of green had begun to bloom. Years blurred into decades. The crimson dust of Mars slowly began to fade, replaced by hues of ochre, then green. The first hardy lichens clung to ancient rocks, followed by resilient mosses, then delicate ferns. The atmospheric processors hummed, no longer just for survival, but for growth, churning out clouds that gathered and wept the first Martian rains. Rivers carved new paths through once barren plains, and the vast, alien silence was occasionally broken by the murmur of flowing water. Aris, his hair now streaked with silver, but his eyes still alight with the fire of discovery, stood on a hill overlooking a valley vibrant with budding flora. The air was thin, but breathable, smelling of damp earth and nascent life. Beside him, an older Elara took soil samples, a contented smile on her face, while Jax, ever the engineer, supervised the deployment of the first human-scale biodomes. They had done it. They had brought life to a dead world. The colossal crystal, deep beneath the Borealis basin, still pulsed its gentle signal, a silent guardian overseeing the rebirth. It was a reminder not of humanity's past failures, but of its enduring capacity for hope and cooperation. Messages from Earth were sporadic now, but the few that arrived spoke of a planet slowly healing, inspired by the impossible achievements on Mars. Aris looked up at the sky, no longer just red, but streaked with faint, hopeful blues. He thought of his daughter, of the lush world she now knew, and felt a profound sense of peace. The colony was no longer just a desperate gamble. It was a flourishing new world, a testament to what humanity could achieve when guided by wisdom, both alien and deeply, profoundly human. Mars, once a symbol of humanity's struggle, now shone as a beacon of its boundless future. Years had passed since the Great Awakening, and Mars was slowly but surely shedding its crimson skin for shades of green and blue. The colony thrived, a testament to humanity's resilience and the benevolent gift of the ancient Martian crystal. Dr. Aris Thorne, his face now bearing the gentle lines of a life well lived, observed the first budding trees from the viewport of Habitat 7. Life was flourishing, a stark contrast to the desolate images of his past. Yet, this newfound serenity was abruptly shattered. A low, guttural rumble vibrated through the habitat, a sound far deeper and more unsettling than any dust storm. The crystalline shard, nestled securely on Aris's desk, pulsed erratically, its serene blue light flickering into an alarming, angry crimson. On the main console, Elara's frantic voice cut through the alarm. Seismic activity. Unprecedented magnitude. Aris. It's radiating from the Borealis basin, directly from the crystal chamber. Jax, his face etched with concern, added, "Atmospheric scrubbers are failing, pressures dropping in Sector C. The core stabilization arrays, they're going offline." The tremors intensified, rattling the very foundations of their new home. This wasn't a natural quake. It felt deliberate, a powerful force reacting to their presence. The fragile balance they had cultivated was shattering, threatening to reclaim Mars for its ancient, untamed mysteries. The benevolent hum of the crystal had become a silent scream, signaling a crisis that jeopardized not only their lives, but the very future of a living Mars. The decision was immediate and unanimous. They had to return to the source, to the colossal crystal in the Borealis basin. The Pathfinder, now older and more weathered, was quickly prepped for the perilous journey. This time, the mood was drastically different. The wonder of discovery had been replaced by grim determination, the excitement by a heavy sense of dread. The land they had so painstakingly cultivated was rebelling, and they were racing against an accelerating collapse. As they traversed the increasingly unstable Martian terrain, cracks spiderwebbed across the once smooth ground. Newly formed chasms yawned open, revealing glimpses of raw, agitated geothermal energy beneath. The sky, which had begun to show hints of blue, was now choked with newly erupted dust and volatile atmospheric anomalies. The crystal shard in Aris's possession vibrated violently, its crimson glow mirroring the chaos unfolding outside. Inside the Pathfinder, Elara struggled to maintain the rover's delicate environmental controls, her brow furrowed with concentration. Jax, his knuckles white on the controls, navigated treacherous new fault lines that hadn't existed hours before. The energy signature from the basin is destabilizing, he reported, his voice tight. It's like something down there is being violently torn apart or trying to break free. Aris, staring out at the angry, red landscape, felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. The miracle of the crystal now felt like a curse, a power too vast, too ancient for humanity to truly comprehend, let alone control. They finally reached the Borealis Basin, or what remained of it. The neatly drilled entrance they had created decades ago was now a gaping, jagged maw, widened by the planet's violent spasms. Lightning, a phenomenon unheard of on Mars until recently, arced from the angry red clouds and struck the ground near the chasm, illuminating the descent into a hellish tableau. The air was thick with static and the acrid smell of ozone, a testament to the raw, uncontrolled energy now coursing through the planet. Their descent module, battered by the journey, slowly lowered them into the abyss. The obsidian walls of the great chamber, once gleaming with a serene, intelligent light, now pulsed erratically with violent crimson and angry violet hues. The glowing geometric patterns were frantic, distorted, flashing incoherently like a dying brain. The comfortable temperature of their first visit was gone, replaced by an oppressive heat that seeped through their suits, making sweat bead on their brows. As they neared the bottom, the source of the chaos became terrifyingly clear. The colossal crystal, once a beacon of calm power, was violently fracturing. Jagged cracks spread across its surface, emitting blinding flashes of light and deafening sonic booms that echoed through the cavern. It wasn't just destabilizing, it was dying, or perhaps undergoing a catastrophic transformation. Aris clutched his shard, which now burned hot in his hand, projecting fragmented images of cosmic collisions and dying suns directly into his mind. "It's not breaking," Elara whispered, her voice barely audible over the roaring crystal. "It's struggling." The roaring crystal pulsed, a furious heart ready to burst. Aris understood now. The ancient entity wasn't dying, it was defending itself. Humanity's terraforming efforts, though well-intentioned, had inadvertently threatened a deeper, perhaps sentient, aspect of Mars itself. The visions streaming from his glowing shard were no longer blueprints, but warnings, catastrophic feedback loops, planetary collapse, the very essence of Martian existence being torn asunder by unchecked human ambition. "We have to stop it," Aris yelled over the din, his voice raw. "Not the crystal, us. We're overloading it, pushing too hard, too fast." Elara, tears streaming down her face, grasped his arm. "But how? We can't just reverse it. The planet needs this." Jax, ever the pragmatist, pointed to the fragmented images from Aris's shard. "There's a sequence, a counterfrequency, a way to stabilize the crystal, to harmonize with it, not conquer it." With newfound clarity, Aris stepped forward, the burning shard held aloft. It wasn't about control, it was about cooperation. The ancient entity hadn't given them a tool for domination, but a partner for symbiosis. He focused, channeling the desperate hope of humanity, the memory of his daughter's smile on a green earth, into the shard. The patterns on the cavern walls responded, forming a complex, dazzling array of light that intertwined with the fury of the colossal crystal. A blinding flash erupted, and then, in profound silence. When their vision cleared, the colossal crystal was whole again, glowing with a steady, serene light. The violent crimson had faded, replaced by a gentle, pulsing azure. The tremors ceased. The air in the cavern became cool and breathable once more. The crisis was averted, but at a cost. The visions from the crystal shard revealed that Mars would not become a blue Earth overnight. It would be a slow, deliberate evolution, a partnership spanning centuries, guided by a wisdom that understood patience. They had learned their lesson. Humanity would build a future on Mars, not by force, but by listening to the silent wisdom of the planet itself. As Aris, Elara, and Jax ascended, leaving the peaceful crystal behind, they carried not just the burden of survival, but the profound understanding that true progress lay not in conquest, but in harmony. The echoes of a blue world might take generations, but the seed of true stewardship had finally been planted in the heart of Mars.